Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 3. Who's ready to get depressed?
Oh man, this episode was a 10 out of 10. It was so good all the way through. They only needed this one episode to make me love Bill and Frank so much. Ow,
Uh,
this whole episode hurt.
I've learned something about myself over the past year, and I've realized the number one way that an episode can make me sob uncontrollably is doing some sort of like elaborate life story from like several decades that makes me cry. Like this, the Miguel episode of This Is Us, for everyone who watched this, that's the comparison I have to what we got here with Bill and Frank, where it's just like, I don't need, well, okay, I did need to see their full story from beginning, middle to end because it was devastating. It was sad. This was a magical episode.
Mhm.
I, it made me so sad that I don't know if I'm going to be watching it again anytime soon, just because I don't know if I have the emotional capacity for it.
Yeah, it's tough because this episode really focused on two characters that maybe we'll see in some flashbacks, probably never again.
Yeah.
It's just it's amazing to me these episodes that are all just about, a couple of characters, little bubble in time. Walking Dead has done this before and they did it beautifully, the Morgan episode, but they did it in like a timing way that made people so pissed off because it was like right after the Glenn episode where it's like, oh my goodness, is he alive? Is he dead? Here's this Morgan episode. But here they
Yeah.
did it just perfectly because we knew that Joel and Ellie were sort of on their way to see them and, to get some help and see what's going on. So there wasn't any like, are they dead? Are they alive? Oh my goodness. And now we're getting these two characters that we don't know. It was just like perfectly placed.
Well, we're going to get into, I think, everything that made this episode work, some of the, long-term ramifications of what we saw. Bill and Frank do have a purpose for Joel and Ellie, but first, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We are a third of the way through The Last of Us. For some wonky reason, this only has 9 episodes, so we're going to be just chugging along here. We want you guys to be a part of the discussion, to be here to watch with us.
Yeah, normally we have our reviews up on Sunday evening. We did not last night. Sorry about that. Thank you for everyone who left some comments looking for us. It means a
Yeah.
lot to us. We're here today, but yes, after the episodes on Sunday, we will be here with reviews.
All right, so that's the first thing I want to say about this episode is let's talk casting for a moment
Ooh, it
here
was so good.
because yeah, like Nick Offerman, I think most people know him for Ron Swanson, most
Yeah.
people know him for a comedic role. Murray Bartlett, most people know him for
A
drop,
suitcase?
yeah, for dropping trow on the White Lotus in the most inopportune way. But like they both have a very sort of comedic reputation in a
Mhm.
lot of ways. So it was a very bold move for The Last of Us to say, okay, we're gonna give you guys the most emotional episode imaginable and imagine that you're going to nail it. Like guest actor Emmys will be announced later this year. I don't know how these two do not end up on the ballot.
The only way that I can see that they do not end up on the ballot for this, which is just going to be ridiculous, but we've
Yeah.
seen this happen before, is just genre shows are sort of like zombies or dragons or whatever, sometimes have a really tough time getting taken seriously when it comes to awards. And I hope that that is not going to be the case here because if they don't get awards, they'll just drive all the Emmys up to their house right now in a truck and be done with it because it really is for them.
It like all the conversations they had were wonderful. I think this episode paints a complicated love story. It's a reminder that love has good and bad times. We're gonna have Frank bringing people over and making Bill upset, and there's
And that's what I really loved about Frank is that there was just this hope about him and sort of showing Bill that there is more to life than just, bunkering down, that you can, paint the town around them, grow the strawberries, be like, oh, I traded one of your guns for some seeds and how beautiful that was. And that there's still beauty and hope. And that is something that this show does really well for all the
yeah.
sort of zombie infected kind of shows that we've seen in movies and stuff like that, there isn't always a lot of that element of hope or beauty or just somebody seeing the world in a little bit of a different way, that if we have to survive, it doesn't just have to be all bunkered down. We can have strawberries, we can paint the boutique, we can have some wine, like, and it just makes this world feel like there's hope. And that's what I want to see in a show like this. I don't want to just live in this world where it's like, oh, we're all doomed and that's just how it goes for 11 seasons.
Yeah, that gets a little tired after a while. And
Yeah.
the functional purpose of this episode, and I mean, there's wonderful moments aplenty. I think so many of us are going to think this is easily the best episode of this show, if not
Yep.
one of the best episodes of any show that we have ever seen.
Yep.
Now, I think the function here, though, is that it gives Joel like that little element of hope, that little element of understanding that, he can think outside himself. Like, let's think for a moment here that here is Joel walking around in a big, heavy suit of armor. I recognize that Joel does not walk like this, but this episode and seeing that letter, it's like a tiny piece of like one of his like metal greaves that he has on his arm is just like chipped away. He's still wearing the rest of the armor, but there's something different.
There is just a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what I think a lot of us want to see. We don't want to see it all unravel for him all at once, where all of a sudden he's like, come give me a hug, Ellie. We're the besties, right? Like,
Yeah.
it needs to be a little bit at a time. But this show, I mean, we're only 3 episodes in, and they've taken some huge risks on this show. I mean, last episode, they killed off TESS, who, could have been more of a main character on the show. Yes,
Yeah.
I know it's based on a video game, and, but this is a TV show, so it's going to take different liberties. But it didn't. It was just like, nope, here we are. TESS is gone. And now they're going to spend an entire episode where they're going to make us fall in love with Bill and Frank. And then they're just gonna ow right in the heart and take them away right away. That last scene with the window open, oh my goodness, this whole episode was just so gorgeous.
Yeah, it was so well shot, and it was so. And I think a lot of the moments were just different and distinct from what we have sort of seen with any even sort of love story like this that has been painted out. And so I think they handled this really well. And I think for me as a viewer now, because let's face it, episode 1, Sarah, episode 2, TESS, episode 3, Bill and Frank. If there is a new character coming in episode 4, I do not trust that they are going to stay around. I do not trust that I am even going to ever see them again. I'm just going to expect them to die in that episode.
No, if Joel and Ellie make it to Tommy and he's also dead, like, come on, The Last of Us, don't do this.
No.
Okay, let's talk about how this whole thing kind of started.
Yeah.
Because that's something that not every movie or show in this genre gives an answer on, where, Ellie's like, oh, is it monkeys? No, basically it's flour, which is something that we had seen in the comments here, where there was one of our commenters left this amazing comment where, I mean, last episode we had that doctor explain that, some people at a flour mill got infected and everything kind of kicked off. And then we had this amazing comment from Red where it was explaining like how the first episode really kind of set this up in beautiful little ways, where it was like Joel didn't have the pancake mix and Sarah decided not to eat the cookies next door. And like, it was in such a way, even Joel had said something about being on Atkins, that they weren't consuming flowers, so they were okay, and this is why this didn't happen to them, which makes me feel a little bit okay as well, because this is where I guess having celiac disease is gonna come in handy. It doesn't right now because I don't get to have beautiful donuts, which I miss every day of my life, but seemingly I'm gonna be okay if this ever happens.
I'm gonna die. Okay, that's already very, very clear to me.
Oh yeah, if you go to our Instagram, Matt and Jess TV, it is filled with Matt enjoying donuts at this apparently amazing donut shop down the street. I just
really
get
good.
to watch.
I'm gonna be one of those fungus people. I'm just gonna be like, but okay,
No, I found it. I was really happy that they actually touched on that, and even Joel said, pancake mix, so it tied back into that first episode.
Yeah, and all of this discourse, that the comment from Red, which was great, and then just also over the past few days, like I've seen a lot of this stuff online. I've done a little bit more reading on a lot of it and some of the theories and what it maintains. So here's the thing. I am okay to eat crow if I am wrong. I am not one of these people on the internet, Twitter, where anytime something happens that isn't contrary to what I've said previously, I double down and get really dumb about it. No,
we will always come clean here at the channel when we know that we stepped in it.
I stepped in it last week when I was just like hating on the intro scene and like these things that are in the past that are separate from
with the
Joel.
doctor. That's right. I loved that.
Yeah. I was out on it. I'm back in now. I understand now. It makes more now. Of course, if they start doing these every episode and they don't tie into anything, I'm gonna be annoyed again. But you know what? The Last of Us, you have earned, my apologies, though I don't think you really care.
No, overall, this episode, I know we're only 3 in to be like, it's the best of the season. Well, it is the best of the season. Is it the best of the year? Could be. I mean, it's only like January 30th, but I mean, they've set the bar so high for any other show that it's going to be tough. But I mean, we do have Yellow Jacket season 2 coming up, which we'll be covering here at the channel. Succession coming up, one of our favorite shows. I mean, every episode of that is a banger. So, it's set the bar high.
Yeah, I know it's not always the most fun to just, sit and listen to me say, I can't say anything wrong about this, because like it's fun to get into criticism and go back and forth, but I don't know if I can literally say anything wrong about this episode. There's not a single mistake. It's as close to perfect, I think, as of an episode as I have seen in a very long time.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful love story, and I'm so thankful for this episode. I really am.
Bye, Bill and Frank.
Oh, why?
I'm still feeling it on the inside. You just gotta let it out sometimes. But okay, well, hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any other coverage of The Last of Us, and we'll see you here next time.